Hey, nice to meet you all. I'm Anna from Vana. Creator of Vana and CEO at Open Data Labs, which is one of the research companies contributing to Vana. Today I'll be talking about kind of data as a new asset class. And I think broadly, like a lot of people agree that AI should be decentralized, controlled by many. And I think the power of data is really that you can get much more tactical and sort of, hey, what can you do in a decentralized context that might not be possible in a centralized world? So I'm going to do some kind of broad framing of Vana, and then we'll go look at some of the data DAOs that are built on the network. I guess to start, like how many people have run an AI model locally on their machines to get a sense? Okay, cool. How many people have trained AI models and are, okay, nice. This will be a pretty technical audience then, so I will go deeper. So I'll be pretty quick about this. Today, most people just know centralized AI versus open source AI. Those are kind of the two extremes of the industry, and they're really the only options today. So one of them is that a single company controls AI, and then the other one is that you train an AI model and you make the weights open. One of the challenges, though, about making the weights open is that then it's very hard to monetize AI because you can't sort of grant access to it or not. It's just freely available. And AI models are extremely expensive to train, right? It can cost $100 million today. I think in a few years, upwards of a few billion dollars. So what user-owned AI is really the best of both worlds, where the AI models are both monetizable and controlled by many. Very broadly, foundation models are kind of becoming this source of truth and economic power. I think the example that shows this most viscerally is when Google Bard had kind of made edits to their AI model. So when you asked it, paint me a historically accurate depiction of a medieval British king, it would actually show you like an Indian woman or a black man. And I think a lot of people reacted to this and were like, oh, it's this crazy wokeness of 2023, 2024. But if we didn't have another source of truth, this would just become what everybody believed, right? So who's ever deciding that data is basically deciding truth. Ultimately, AI models are kind of only as good as their training data, right? So this is GPT-3's training data. Most AI models today are trained on the public internet. So that's everything you can scrape publicly. But it represents a very small percent of the overall internet. So less than 0.1% of the internet's actually publicly scrapable. And I think many of us, given the AI context we all already have heard of the data wall. But if you haven't already, what that refers to is this idea that we're actually running out of data to train AI models on. So Llama 3 was trained on 15 trillion tokens, and it's gotten better and better. But that's actually the whole public internet. So if we want to make AI better, we're going to have to find more data to teach AI with. Companies have realized this and have really taken the opportunity to monetize their data, right? So Reddit is earning $200 million from selling data. Apple's buying data for $50 million. And generally, there's this trend where the internet is actually becoming less open, right? Stack Overflow changed their API terms to make it harder to access their data. And that gives them more power in kind of being able to charge for the data. There's one group which still has access to their data, which is users. So a lot of people don't realize, but you legally own all of your data. So in the same way that when you put your car in a parking lot, the parking lot doesn't own your car. When you put your data in a platform, you retain full legal ownership. So you can always go to that platform and get your data back. I think one good example of this is if you use Alexa, you can actually go export every single audio recording ever, which is a little bit creepy, but kind of shows that all that data is available. You can also go get your Instagram data, and they'll give you not just your posts, but also the AI labels they put on you. One of the AI labels that Instagram had put on me is actually stressed but not depressed, and it's just worthy of an exercise to go and see. I always like to put numbers on things, so you can kind of look at how much data do users have if you have 100 million people contributing data from 5 data sources. And it's actually 30 times more than leading training data sets. If properly incentivized, users can create even more data, right? So this is if 100 million users record everything they say for a few years, important privacy implications, but I think platforms like Rewind and stuff are already starting to collect this data. Users also have a ton of compute. This math actually changed my mind on decentralized compute, which I used to be very skeptical of. But if you compare the amount of compute power that Ethereum miners in the proof of work days have relative to the compute used to train GPT-4, they actually have 50 times as much, right? So even if you take a big hit in performance, you still have just like a huge amount of compute power to train models on. Once you do have that user-owned foundation model, you can have users get paid when the model is used, or even paid proportionally to how much their data improved the model. I think a lot of people today assume that foundation models just have to come from big tech companies. They assume hopefully Facebook is going to keep open sourcing their models. But if you look at actually the amount of resources available across all users, you can train even better AI models than any single company has access to. So what we're doing with Vana is really building user-owned AI through user-owned data. And there are two key concepts that kind of underpin the network. One is non-custodial data, which basically allows you to permission your data out with your crypto wallet, just like you kind of grant access to your funds. And the second is proof of contribution, which basically underpins all the different data DAOs. I wanted to highlight some of the data DAOs. So here are some of the ones across the ecosystem. We have an accelerator program of a bunch of data DAOs. Oh, is a data DAO founder in the audience? Are you guys a data? Yeah, okay, maybe not. But yeah, so a bunch of them are around this week. So like the Reddit data DAO, LinkedIn data DAO. If you want to meet one of them, just come talk to me. A couple I'll highlight. The Reddit data DAO, which has like 140,000 Reddit users, and I'll highlight proof of contribution here, right? So 1 million people tried to join and say, hey, I want to join with my Reddit data, but only 140,000 people passed proof of contribution, which is basically saying, hey, I have a legit account, it has enough karma, and I'm actually going to contribute to this data set. The other one I'd mention is the 23andMe DAO, which is actually working to buy 23andMe and make it user-owned. They're still early in that journey, but the market cap of 23andMe is only $110 million, right? So it's kind of plausible that something like this would be possible. And so now I wanted to show a few of the data DAOs. So Vana itself is a network. I'll be showing you data DAOs that other builders have built, but they've done great work, so I wanted to kind of pull up a few of them. So this one here is the Twitter data DAO. What it allows you to do is basically connect your data. Here I'm going to log in with my wallet. So I actually have already set this up. Let me see. By the way, I was testing this just before and the internet was spotty, so I'm kind of nervous about the demo, but if anything goes wrong, I'll show you after or send you links. Okay, maybe an internet problem, maybe not. Just going to try here. Let me just test. Okay, I believe the internet is not loading. I'm going to try one other thing. So just show you the UIs. So yeah, this is the Twitter data DAO. It's founded by some early like BitTensor miners. And what it allows you to do is basically contribute your Twitter data, including your private messages, into a pool. What's important about this is the Twitter API has gotten extremely expensive. I think they charge like $30K a month. So it gives you a way to get around that by allowing users to grant direct access to their data. 6GPT is a synthetic data DAO, which actually allows you to generate data that then is contributing to kind of more of this like synthetic data pool. And then the last one I wanted to pull up, this is actually a project called Surfer that allows you to go and scrape your data from all these different projects. And they're right now working on a way for you to then add your data to different data DAOs. And so I think often people ask Vana like, oh, are you going to make almost like a Plaid-like interface for people to connect their data? But what we see our role in as a network is really allowing for people to have non-custodial data and permissions around data, a place to aggregate it, but we're not really focused on that UX side. There are great builders who are building tools like this, though, that really power the network. Yeah, and if you want to start a data DAO, you can do it for any data source, right? Because users legally own their data, you can basically just choose a data source and go and export your data from there, kind of build a way for people to do that. There's kind of a build process. There are some smart contracts. There are templates if you want to do that. I'd love to see an integration actually with Coinbase's agent kit that I know was demoed earlier to make it super easy to do. You implement proof of contribution, which is basically valuing the data and saying, hey, this is how much one person's data is worth relative to another's. With Reddit, for example, they do it based on the square root of your karma. So if you have more karma, your data is more valuable. With 23andMe, it's just kind of equal for everyone. And then, yeah, kind of register and launch your data DAO. The top 16 data DAOs, kind of similar to BitTensor subnets, actually earn a share of emissions. And most teams are like 2 or 3 people, and it initially takes a few weeks, but you can create a template one in just a few days. Some of the data DAOs that I would love to see are TikTok for video data. Also, if you're training video models, feel free to come talk to me, because I think that's one area where we just need a lot more data. iMessage and some of the health data too. So yeah, here's a link to our Twitter and some of the docs. Happy to chat or take any questions.